Hi there. I'm here this evening to tell you about Lefty Magoo. But first, I need to tell you about Patreon, which is the distribution mechanism that we use for Lefty Magoo. Now, I'm not surprised if many of you have not heard of Patreon, but it's very similar to Hulu or Spotify or Netflix in the sense that it's a month-to-month subscription model for digital media distribution. Now, Patreon is off and running 5 years deep, and this year alone, they'll help creators, podcasters, painters, comedians bring in $300 million in subscription revenue. Now, I love what Patreon is doing for creators and giving them reliable monthly income that's like a salary, but it absolutely kills me that nonprofits are not also taking advantage of this powerful resource. So the only nonprofit that I've seen doing a really good job of this is no big surprise that it's TED. So this feels like a really on-brand extension of their social media, and it's bringing in $5,000 a month of extra revenue that they wouldn't have otherwise. And it's also fueling their engagement goals as far as community participation goes. So this is an incredible example, but if it's the only example, then the opportunity here is clear. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of Patreon's power for social good. And that's why I'm launching Lefty Magoo on Patreon. But I'm structuring Lefty Magoo as a social enterprise rather than a nonprofit based on my plans to scale. Now, you're probably familiar with social enterprises like Newman's Own, which harnesses the profit-making power of business to make resources available that are earmarked for future donations. So this has allowed Newman's Own, their brand has allowed them to donate $30 million this year to charity, but that wouldn't work without some killer recipes. So what's Lefty Magoo's killer recipe? Well, my not-so-secret ingredient is years of teaching experience, mainly kindergarten and first grade. Knowing what works for teachers positions me to design something that's really simple and effective and realistic for teachers. Okay, so Lefty Magoo is a Patreon channel that's structured as a classroom resource that's low cost, super simple, and decidedly flexible, made for teachers in all different scenarios. So Lefty Magoo will launch on Patreon, and we've already signed up our first beneficiary. The Empowerment Plan out of Detroit is an amazingly crush-worthy nonprofit. I'm thrilled to have them bring their followers to follow Lefty Magoo. Now, the key twist that I mentioned before is that as we're posting about them, the responses to the creative prompts, instead of racking up likes and comments, the responses are actually what fuel the piggy bank releasing the donation to the Empowerment Plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.